Hey, everybody. Welcome to part 4 of the two gods. Of course, we know there is only one God. Jesus actually calls him the only true God, his Father. But there is an evil entity out there, whatever you want to call him or it. There is an evil entity in the world that would like us to think there's a different God, a God who's not all good, a God who's schizophrenic, a God who may like you today, but maybe not tomorrow. Of course, all dependent upon your actions and ability, with the exception of some, I would call them minority religious groups who say that God just arbitrarily chooses to love and like maybe 10% of the people, and the other 90% people don't have a chance. That's about the most heinous concept of a different God than I can imagine. And of course, I want to avoid that at all costs. But the concept of two gods, the real good God, Jesus Papa, or the one I call the fictitious, evil, small g God. So everybody, I think, wants to hear from God. Even people who don't yet believe that there is a God would think, well, if there is a God, I'd certainly like to hear from that God. Well, of course, we can hear from that God, and we do hear from that God all the time, whether it's in nature, in music, in art, in other people, or speaking to us personally in different ways. We do hear from God. God's all about relationship and communication with us. So, the question is, at least for me, am I hearing from the real God, or am I hearing from the fictitious evil God? Sometimes we can hear in church or from religious leaders or from the media about the fictitious evil God by well meaning people who are misinformed and have a poor concept of who God really is. So today we're going to go through a few more things that we can use to tell whether or not we're hearing from the real true God or the fictitious God. When we hear something about ourselves, about God, or about other people, and it's done in a gentle way, that's from the real good God, Jesus Father. If we hear something that's harsh about God, about ourselves or other people, that comes from the fictitious, evil, small g God. When we hear things about inclusion, that all people are included in God's love, that all people are intrinsically good, that all people are made in God's image and likeness, that all people are one with each other, that comes from Jesus Papa, the real good God. On the other hand, when we hear impressions or words or things that say some people, God has excluded some people, or that we're excluded, or that a certain group or types of people are excluded, that never comes from Jesus Papa, the only true God. We know that when we hear those things, that's not the real God speaking to us. When we hear that we have confident assurance, when we hear that God has confident assurance that we're right with Him, that we're His children, when we hear that we can have confident assurance that God totally loves us and His grace has covered everything in our life and He'll never leave us or forsake us, that comes from the only true God. On the other hand, when we have great doubt about whether or not God has included us or loves us or is with us or in us, or when we have great doubt that someone else is, that's from the fictitious, evil, small g God. One other. When we hear that the faith of Jesus Christ is the only faith, and that faith is for everyone and in everyone, the faith of Christ, and that's the faith that matters, that comes from God the Father, the only true God. When we hear that you got to work up your own faith, or you don't have enough faith, or those people have no faith, or God doesn't like you if you don't have faith, That comes from the fictitious, evil, small g God. I've made a little, I'm starting a little booklet, but I've got it just on a Word document now that lists out a whole bunch of these different things, and I'm talking about them every day, and I'll make a podcast about them eventually. But if you'd like my in-progress working document on these things, let me know in the comments or email me if you have my email, and I'll be glad to send that to you. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.